Hello viewers, we're back for our next experiment. This is the Fundamentals of Calorimetry, and what we'll be doing for our first activity, we're going to need our 2 styrofoam cups that came in our Carolina kit, our 50 milliliter graduated cylinder, which I have here. We're going to need some hot water and some cold water. Prior to starting the video, I already set some hot water over the stove just to make sure that it is over 80 degrees Celsius, and then I set apart some cold water with some ice cubes before we started. So let's just go ahead and jump right into our first activity. One of the first things we're going to do is measure out 50 milliliters of the cold water and put it into one of these styrofoam cups, take its temperature, and then record it, and do the same thing for the hot water. So since we're dealing with water and there's no chemicals that will harm me other than the burns from the hot water, I'm not going to use my lab safety goggles. I may want to put some gloves on. I don't know if they'll protect me from any burns, but I'm going to do that anyways. So just hang on tight.
Go over there, pick up your mess.
Alright, so now I'm back. As you see here, I have the hot water, and I'm going to go ahead and point the camera downward. Alright, and I grabbed my apron just in case I splash any of the hot water on me. Alright, so first I'm going to take 50 milliliters of the cold water. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and dip my thermometer. Give it a swirl. And I'm going to let it sit there so I can record the temperature. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and measure out 50 milliliters of the hot water. Alright, so there we have it, 50 milliliters of the hot water. Alright, now that we've let our thermometer sit in the cold water for a while, I'm going to go ahead and record its temperature, which appears to be 7 degrees Celsius. Alright, then we're going to take it out and record our hot water. Yeah, as you can quickly see a jump. All right, well, since the hot water that I have isn't quite at 80 degrees Celsius, it's actually at 62, and it looks like it stopped there. I don't think it's going to climb anymore. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, put the hot water back on the stove until it reaches the desired temperature, and then I'll be back. So we're back. I placed the hot water in the microwave to heat it up. So here we are. It looks like we're right at 50 degrees Celsius. Our cold water is actually at 8 degrees Celsius now, so that changed a bit. Our hot water is at 79 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the cold water with the hot water. Take an initial reading. I'm going to swirl it a bit. And I'm getting an initial reading of 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to monitor the temperature of the water each minute in 1 minute intervals until it reaches 10 minutes. And since I'm running out of disk space to continuously record, I'm just going to pause the video, come back at the 5-minute mark, and then come back at the 10-minute mark. So now we're back right at the 5-minute mark, and it looks like I'm getting an initial reading. Well, I'm sorry, not initial. This is actually at the 5-minute mark. It looks like we are at 40 degrees Celsius for our trial number 1. I'm going to come back and touch in right at the 10-minute mark. So now we're after the expiration of about 10 minutes. I've been keeping track. It looks like our final temperature, and it looks like it's been at 35 degrees Celsius for a while. The thermometer hasn't moved. So what we're going to do now is set this off to the side, and we're going to move on, repeating the procedure now with trial number 2. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to use our cold water. Oh, this seems to be a little hot. It says I have a few ice cubes in here, guys. That's why I'm mixing it. All right, so we have 50 milliliters, and we're going to go ahead and take its initial temperature. You place this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. All right, so for the initial temperature of this cold water, it looks like it's 7 degrees Celsius, which is really, really close to what it was during trial number 1. So we're going to go ahead and take our hot water out of the microwave. I put it back in there just to make sure that that we were using the correct temperature. Alright, so I'm going to measure out 50 milliliters. And find out the temperature. All right, looks like we've climbed up to 79 degrees Celsius. So we're going to go ahead and take that out and place the hot water into the cold water. Let's take an initial reading. It looks like I'm getting an initial reading of 48 degrees Celsius. So we're going to go ahead and leave that there, come back in after 5 minutes. And again, I'm going to record the temperature in 1 minute intervals beginning now. And then I'm going to check back in at 5 minutes and at 10 minutes. All right, so now we are at the 5 minute mark, and I'm going to go ahead and look at the thermometer. Looks like we are at 38 degrees Celsius. And we're still dropping, so we're gonna come back after the expiration of 10 minutes and see what the temperature is. Alright guys, so we're at the 10-minute mark, and it looks like we have dropped to 34 degrees Celsius. So I'm gonna go ahead and record my readings, and I've been recording each one at 1 minute intervals, as you can see here. I've been recording each one of these at 1 minute intervals. So now we're going to go back and fill in some of the blanks that I have using our calorimeter formulas. So I'll be back for activity number 2. So thanks for joining us. All right, so now we're doing activity number 2. For this activity, we're going to need our graduated cylinder, and we're going to measure out 100 milliliters of room temperature water. And for this experiment, we are again using purified water. So here we have 50. All right, and 100. Now we're going to take our thermometer, place it into, oh, that's upside down. Place it into our cup just to make sure what our room temperature is. All right, so we're at 22 degrees Celsius for room temperature. All right, now we're going to take our calcium chloride and our scale. We're going to need a weighing boat. So let's turn on our scale, place our boat, zero it out. Just make sure to re-zero. Great. Alright, let's grab some gloves before handling any chemicals. Now I grabbed our mini spoon just in case I need it. Now we're going to need 5 grams of the calcium chloride. Alright, there we have 5 grams. And we're going to record the exact mass of the calcium chloride. Mine's reading at 5 grams exactly. Now we're going to add the calcium chloride to our calorimeter, and we're going to stir the solution with a thermometer. Now we're going to keep stirring until the temperature stops changing. All right, so it looks like our temperature has stopped changing. It looks like it's been at a steady 30 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to stop stirring and record our final temperature as 30 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to discard the solution. We're going to rinse the inner cup, dry it, and place it back on the calorimeter so we can use it for our future activities. All right, now we're going to do the 10 grams of calcium chloride mixed with 100 grams or 100 milliliters of water. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so I have 10 grams exactly. And our room temperature water is still at 22 degrees, which is already pre-measured as well. We measure at 10 grams. Zero it out.
How much do you need? 10 point out.
All right, it looks like now we got up to 35 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna stir just for a bit longer and see what we get. All right, so I got a final reading of 36 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to repeat this with using 15 grams of the calcium chloride. All right, so now we have exactly 15 grams of the calcium chloride. And take it off our scale. And again, I have here 22 degrees Celsius, which is room temperature, 100 millimeters of water. All right, now that all the calcium chloride has dissolved, looks like we got up to 42 degrees Celsius. Let's go ahead and record that. Actually, guys, I just saw it. We jumped up to 43. Okay, and we're going to prepare for our next step. So we're back for activity number 3. Here I've already pre-measured 100 milliliters of purified water, which is reading at 22 degrees Celsius, just as before in our previous activities. For this activity, we're going to use the ammonium chloride. Now I have here a weighing boat, which of course it's different. This is a different weighing boat than what I used in activity number 2. So here we're going to place our weighing boat on the scale, zeroed out, and we're going to need 5 grams of the ammonium chloride. All right, so I've managed to get exactly 5 grams again. So we're going to record that. Now we're going to add it to our water. Right now with this stuff, I had to pat it down a bit so it would come off the weighing boat. Now I'm gonna stir it, and I'm gonna watch the temperature, see what it does. Looks like we're getting a drop in temperature, so I'm going to keep stirring. All right, guys, looks like we're at 18 degrees. All right, looks like the temperature has stayed at a constant 18 degrees. I'm gonna let it sit there for just a couple of seconds more while I record our final temperature. All right, so yep, it stayed at constant 18 degrees Celsius. So we're going to go ahead and dispose of the solution, and we're going to draw a graph for our final activity, which is activity number 4. And we're going to try to calculate, based on using 100 grams of water, which is 100 milliliters, how much of each chemical should we need. For the hot pack, the temperature should reach 60 degrees Celsius, and for the cold pack, it should go down to at least 3 degrees Celsius from a room temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. So that's going to be our activity for activity number 4. This would basically conclude the video, and for the next one, for our next lab, which should be our final one, it's going to be determination of ideal gas law constant. Okay, so now for the 10 grams of the ammonium chloride. Go ahead and take our scale and make sure that we do have 10 grams. All right, so we have 10 grams exactly, minus the weight of the boat, which was already included in there. All right, so now we're adding 10 grams of the ammonium chloride to our water. All right, it looks like our temperature has dropped and stayed at a constant 16 degrees Celsius with 10 grams of the ammonium chloride. Yep, still 16 degrees. All right, we're going to pause the video and then move on to using 15 grams of ammonium chloride. All right, now we will be using 15 grams of the ammonium chloride with 100 grams or milliliters of water. Looks like we're at 15 degrees Celsius and still dropping. There still appears to be some ammonium chloride left that hasn't dissolved into the water, so we're going to keep stirring. All right, we're at 14 degrees Celsius. Now we're at 13. It looks like we're at 12 degrees Celsius. All right, now that all the ammonium chloride has fully dissolved, looks like we're still at 12 degrees Celsius. So we're going to go ahead and stop here, record our data,